Once again, it's another week, and as you can tell by the title of this video, it's time to figure out what I've been listening to this week. Yes, you'll love it. It's a way of life. Yes, so this is where I kind of do this part thing series. This is week 2 of what I've been listening to. It's just where I run down like 5 albums I've been listening to this week. I'll keep it to 5 until any of you guys want to hear any more of what I've been listening to. So without further ado, let's get into this and really delve into some of these. Album number 5 for me, I've been listening to a lot, is Zeppelin 4 by Led Zeppelin. Now, I'm thinking of a lot of different ideas for series, and I thought, you know what, I would love to do ranking the songs, at least my opinion, from Zeppelin 4. And that's going to be a video coming out here within the next couple weeks. Just gotta really get that order down just right to where I like it. But yeah, it's a killer album. Jimmy Page, like the whole band, Robert Plant, John Bonham, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, just fantastic musicians. And the songs on there, for some reason I keep forgetting Four Sticks is on that record, and every time it comes on I'm like pleasantly surprised, or I'm like, oh, that's on there. Yeah, I forgot about that song. But it's a killer record. Now, is it my favorite Zeppelin album? I don't think so. It's could be up there for me, but that's probably another video coming out as me ranking the Led Zeppelin albums. Probably coming up in the near future. Great record. And it's interesting listening to Jimmy Page's guitar work on that. It's coming from a guitar player. Just some of the ideas and stuff he would do on there, but also listening to like John Bonham, John Paul Jones, and at times what felt like the musical diversity kind of going into that record is actually really interesting, and I want to really delve deeper into it on a future video. But for this video, great record. Pretty sure everyone's heard it by now. Album number 4. Now, I was thinking of doing the same concept, so I was listening to another album as well. LA Woman by The Doors. Now, this album is a album that I think the songs I really like on here, I really like, but I'm not going to lie and say it's like a perfect 10 out of 10 record. There's a few songs on here I don't like. I really don't like Car Hissed by My Window. What's the other one? Wasp and the Big Texas Beat. Never cared for that one. Yeah, it's a song, like, I think it's strong at points, but I think there is some weakness to this record. And it's a great record. Jim Morrison, sadly, the last album he ever performed on, really, it's interesting listening to The Doors and through their career, because it was quite short, but the musical passages they were able to create, just some really interesting stuff. You got the title track, LA Woman, you got the Changeling, Love Her Madly, Hyacinth House, or however you pronounce it. Fantastic song off of there. Riders of the Storm is also on that album. There's some really Been Down So Long also on there. It's just once you get kind of like Cars Hissed by My Window, I don't care as much for like the Jim Morrison crooning of like very slow blues. Like when the Doors do blues, I like it very upbeat and very kind of packs a punch. And it felt like on some of the songs on here it didn't quite. So this might kind of give you a little bit of the ranking, but it will be up here hopefully pretty soon. That's another ranking I'd love to do, is the Doors albums. So that also might be coming out soon. Album number 3, listening to it a little bit from last week into this week, Soap Opera by the Kinks. Now, the Kinks is a very interesting band, because most people would know them for like, You Really Got Me, as doing the song Van Halen covered, You Really Got Me. Great song, but more I've delved into the Kinks is it's quite a fascinating journey through their career, where you go from like that big hit And then you start going into their career, like stuff like the Village Green Preservation Society. Then you get into Arthur. Then you get into Lola and the Power Man Part 1, which I always felt was very weird because I always felt like there's supposed to be another part to that. Then you go a little bit and more into the 70s and you get soap opera, which as it was going along, it kind of felt like the Kinks, even though they weren't necessarily like, would you say, quote unquote, a prog band. They were doing some progressive concepts by just focusing entire albums based on concepts. And I have yet to hear a Kinks album I really don't like. I'm sure they exist. Maybe I just haven't listened to them yet. But great record. Album number 2 that I've been listening to this week, the debut by Stephen Stills. Now, I started have this whole video planned out going, probably be uploaded today, tomorrow, sometime. I don't know how I call it. I don't want to call it Does This Album Suck? Because I then realized Larry the Canadian Stud Muffin has that already. So I'm just going to say it. Instead of saying like review, my general thoughts and opinions on Harvest by Neil Young. But it led me down to looking at the other members of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And Stephen Stills, I always find, is a very, very interesting musician, from his time in Buffalo Springfield to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young to Stephen Stills to Manassas to really everything. He always struck me as like just this guy that was always really fascinating. Like some would say maybe Neil was very fascinating, David Crosby, but I always found the most fascinating for me was Stephen Stills. And somebody I thought, you know what, I've never went and really checked out his music, so I thought, hey, I'd start with the debut and just go from there and see, find stuff I like. And album number 1 of what I've been listening to this week is Rust Never Sleeps by Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Wow. This album's in my music collection. It's really interesting. My idea for going into Neil Young is I went through my CD collection behind me, and I found I actually owned 4 Neil Young albums, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Like, I completely forgot I had them. It's probably been at least 15 years since I listened to any of them. I want to say 2009, 2010 is probably the last time I listened to Neil Young's music. Don't ask me why, I just maybe never wanted to go back and listen to it. But I started listening to Harvest, and that kind of opened the door, because I'm like, okay, you'll hear some of my thoughts and opinions on Harvest in there, but Rust Never Sleeps came on. And I'm like, okay, I like how it starts, has some really good songs on there, really are. And it kind of goes into a whole thing with Neil Young, where there's songs off of albums I like, but do I like the whole together? And that might be the best way to put it. But Rust Never Sleeps, I remember always liking that album, and I always loved the song off their Thrasher, which I thought was a fantastic song. Always remember the song Ride My Llama, From Peru to Texarkana. It's another really good song. My, Hey Hey, and Hey Hey, My. 2 different. You got it, one acoustic, one electric, which Neil Young, I believe, would also do on Rockin' in the Free World, or Freedom with Rockin' in the Free World, had an acoustic and an electric version on that album. But the more and more I started to really listen to Neil Young, he might be a guy actually do a deep dive and actually start listening to a lot of his records, because he has a ton of them, and just pick out like which ones I kind of like, kind of do like a deep dive on his career. Because I always find like the singer-songwriter thing somewhat fascinating. And that's coming from like a guy who's probably more into like maybe the more prog side of music. But it's me opening up and branching out, and kind of like the whole tree growing out of your brain. It's just branching into all these different areas of stuff I just want to listen to, explore, see if it goes anywhere, fine. If it doesn't, that works. So that's really, quite honestly, the 5 albums that I've been listening to. Very 70s dominant this week. I'll see what I start listening to Next week, I have a bunch of channel ideas. As you can tell, that I'm kind of debating how I want to do them, how I want them to go, when I want to upload them. So trying to just get the schedule down first, and then I'll start really expanding into different stuff. But I love doing this every week, is kind of coming on here and talking to you guys about what I've been listening to. So anyway, that's my video. If you like it, hit the like button, subscribe button. If not, no big deal. I'm not going to force anybody. I might do this at the end of the video, but it's a great place with the music, man. It's really amazing, like, to see. I always like watching channels and seeing their musical journey and seeing what they're into, what they're listening to. I don't come on here and like try and be like, I know that's a B minor 7th, flat 11th, sharp 13th or something. I really personally, that's not me. I just love coming on here and just talking music and seeing other people's opinions and just see where it goes from there. So this is, like I said, probably going to be a weekly thing. This is going to be, I thought about it last night and I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to write this down. I was going to film it last night. I got busy doing other stuff and forgot about it. So I thought, you know what, Sunday, I'll bring it here. That's a quick, easy video. But anyway, once again, have to say to all of you, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. And tell your friends about the channel. Hit the like. That's really helps the channel grow. So without further ado, this is me signing out. Peace.